All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, first I want to say thank you and welcome to all the new subscribers from yesterday's video. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who was here before that as well, because you guys are the reason why I even had subscribers in the first place. Okay, so thank you to all of you and welcome to the newcomers. I greatly appreciate it. I think that one reason why I was able to gain subscribers off of that Dricus Duplessis video was because I had the humility to at least admit that I was wrong, right? And a lot of people don't do that. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn by saying that, but it is what it is. I think it shows humility, and I think that people can resonate with that. And now it does not happen very often, okay, because I'm a man, right? And men are very rarely ever wrong, especially when they're arguing with their significant others. But twice this week, I have now been wrong, or at least twice in the last 7 days, I've now been wrong, okay, because I never thought we would be having this conversation, but Tyson Fury is set to face off against Francis Ngannou October 28th in Saudi Arabia in a 10-round standard boxing rules match, okay? Now, there are a few unknowns here. I'm going to talk about a little bit of this. I'm going to talk about whatever I feel like I'm going to talk about. I'm honestly a little bit shocked by this story, but before we get into it, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, okay? So, there's a couple unknowns, right? We don't know if it's going to be a pro boxing fight. We don't know if it's going to count towards their records. We don't know if Tyson Fury's belt is going to be on the line. We don't know how much money Francis Ngannou's making. I would say that the reason, or maybe one of the reasons they're going to Saudi Arabia, though, is because that seems to be the place that we see these historic numbers. Like, I remember reading an article, I think it was a couple years ago, that Anthony Joshua got something like $70 million to fight over there. I think that the reason they've chosen to go over there is so they can get the most guaranteed purse as they possibly can. Because in terms of pay-per-views, and I'm not trying to be a hater, dude. I'm not. But people will say that. Francis Ngannou does not sell pay-per-views. Point blank, period. Okay, that's what part of the reason why I didn't think that Francis Ngannou would entice any of these big-name heavyweight boxers to actually do a match with him is because there is a lot of risk involved, and if it's not going to be worth the monetary gain, then why would you do it? And when you see Francis Ngannou with an incredible storyline against an ex-training partner who, he left the gym and all this shit, he sells less than 300,000 buys on a card that had another title fight on it and some other good fights on the undercard. You know what I mean? To me, that's not enough. Like, it seems crazy to me because Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, I think it was their second fight, mind you. So perhaps the first one didn't do as well. But I think it sold around 800,000, right? Like, and that was with two established championship boxers. This is a guy making his debut who sells little to no pay-per-views. And while in all likelihood Tyson Fury will box his fucking face off, absolutely has the ability to shut you off. I know that we've seen, Deontay Wilder gets praised as like the hardest hitter in the world, or at least in boxing. I think Francis Ngannou, the moment he steps in that ring that night, if this fight actually happens, if they make it to the day, the moment that Francis Ngannou steps inside that ring, he is now the new, like, current hardest hitting boxer on planet Earth, at least in my opinion. He's got a lot of weight on Deontay Wilder, so even just factoring in that, I would imagine he hits a lot harder. At first I was getting irritated also because I like the idea of a boxer actually going to MMA. I don't think it will ever happen, and well, at least a big name boxer who has a lot to lose by doing that. And I thought, what a pussy. He's not taking any risk whatsoever. Of course, he doesn't do the John Jones UFC fight. He would rather bring in a guy with, and again, I'm not trying to be shitty, dude, but Francis Ngannou technically is not a very good boxer. He just hits very hard. Of course, you're going to bring in this guy who can't technically box that well, will probably gas out in 9 minutes, and, you don't have to worry about wrestling or leg kicks or anything like this. But then I realized that it actually is quite a lot of risk for Tyson Fury. Because if he loses, and I know that that's an insane thought to even fathom, like that is a very small chance that would ever happen. But if he does lose, he will be ridiculed for the rest of his life, okay? And he will probably be outcasted by the rest of the boxing community, I would imagine. It's probably why his title's not on. Imagine losing, like, we don't know for sure if that's going to be the case, but as of right now, it hasn't. They've said that his title's not going to be on the line, but for all intensive purposes, was the quote, it is a professional boxing match. If he were to get starched by a guy making his debut who just hits hard, you know what I mean? That's like his only attribute that he has going into this fight. That would just be absolutely horrible. Now, the part that made me the most excited about seeing this fight was announced was knowing that later today, most likely, we will be getting a massive announcement from the UFC, because this is an MMA channel, okay? And I'm not a massive boxing fan. I don't really pay attention to boxing, but seeing it and realizing that Dana White is probably absolutely seething right now, he probably got on the phone to Jeff Nowitzki and said, if you don't say that Conor McGregor submitted a piss test on this day or whatever the fuck, you're gone. And maybe actually worse than that. Maybe gone literally, not just figuratively. Not just I'll fire you, but something very bad is going to happen to you because we need to announce a big fight. I can only imagine, especially because Dana White was actually going after the Tyson Fury fight with Jon Jones. You know what I mean? That makes this so much worse for Dana White. This is insane. I am honestly shocked, and I don't even know what else to really say about this situation. It is blowing my mind. I was very critical of some of the moves that Francis was making leading up to this. This is what I was wrong about, right? Because I said that it doesn't seem like he's moving in the right direction to get this fight. He fired his management. He signed with the PFL, right? Which is, if you're trying to build your brand, build your name up, the PFL is not really the place to do it. You know what I mean? If you were the heavyweight champion, though, and wanting to fight Tyson Fury, there's a lot of leverage, or not even leverage, but there's a lot of notoriety that comes with being the UFC champion. Moving to the PFL and then announcing that he wasn't going to be fighting until 2024, all of these steps. Now, he did correct one of the missteps, which was the management, right? He hired his manager back, which is probably a big reason as to why this fight actually ended up getting done. But, man, I just didn't think, all of the steps he was taking just seemed so off to me. And I think that, to be fair to myself, like, at the time, all of the evidence presented to me seemed like this was never going to happen, or nothing even close to this was going to happen, especially because we did hear that they were talking about Tyson Fury fighting Usyk and Joshua fighting Wilder, and they were going to do that huge night in Saudi Arabia as well, or whatever. But, you know, people are still going to come in here and tell me I should apologize. I don't think so, because that's not what I do. I'll admit that I was wrong, but I'm not going to apologize. And also, based on the information that I had, I feel like that was probably the most reasonable take to have, aside from people who were just basing their opinions off of, like, hope and dreams and hoping that, he would get it done so that they could call everybody haters or whatever the fuck it is. But Ariel Helwani's probably so happy, dude. Guy probably, because he had a lot riding on this, because he was kind of gassing up Francis a little too much, perhaps being a little too optimistic, but it worked out, so he's going to be very happy about that. I'm looking forward to hearing whatever the UFC announces later today or tomorrow to attempt to overshadow this news, which is what they've done almost every time Francis Ngannou has made an announcement. I don't know how well this fight's gonna. I don't think it breaks 500,000 pay-per-view buys, and I'm not trying to be a hater when I say that, but I would imagine right now that boxing fans are a little bit annoyed with Tyson Fury, and I don't know that hardcore boxing fans are going to be buying a pay-per-view, to see Tyson Fury fight a guy who's never had a pro boxing fight in his life. I would imagine that there's some MMA fans that kind of feel the same way about Francis Ngannou. Like, no, we want to see you fight, not box. You know what I mean? And also, to the casual fan base, I don't think Francis Ngannou is, like, the biggest name. And I've said this from the beginning, but there's a reason why Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather was able to happen, and it's because Conor McGregor broke through from being an MMA fighter to like pop culture. He had a massive casual fan base around him. His biggest fan base is not hardcore MMA fans. His biggest fan base is like from pop culture shit. Francis Ngannou does not have that. Not even close. Not even fucking in the same stratosphere. You know, hardcore MMA fans know who Francis Ngannou is. That's about it. And I don't know how many hardcore MMA fans are going to want, you know, and I don't know what the price of the pay-per-view is going to be, but typically boxing pay-per-views are a little more expensive than UFC ones. So you're going to expect a bunch of MMA fans to purchase not only the UFC's pay-per-view in October, which will most likely be a fucking barn burner of a card, considering that they now have to compete with this. Oh, and they're gonna probably, do they even have that announced, a pay-per-view for October? I'm gonna look that up real quick, actually, because now I'm very curious, because I could see them changing everything. They're gonna need to have it on the same day and all of that shit. Let me just take one look quickly. Sorry, I should have looked that up previously to this. Upcoming cards. We are gonna go to, I don't think that they do. It doesn't seem to be. October 21. To be determined versus to be determined. Abu Dhabi. Oh my god, they're gonna... Bro. This is wild. They're gonna push it back a week. They're gonna push it back a week, I would imagine. And to be determined, they are gonna go all out, dude. They are gonna tag on an extra who knows what to the biggest names they can possibly find to try and make that card an absolute crazy card so that they compete directly with this this boxing match. Jesus Christ, dude. I can only imagine how mad Dana White is. Congratulations to Francis Ngannou, regardless of what you got, like regardless of what anybody thinks in terms of, he's not going to have the MMA legacy that he could have potentially had, you know, whether or not you think that he's making the right decision or you think he's just going to be the guy that is known for getting fucked up by Tyson Fury and then going to the PFL to fight bullshit competition, or whether you're super stoked for him, you know, whatever it is. Even if you think this isn't the right decision for him, he got what he wanted. You know what I mean? And as somebody who believes in freedom, like, I may not agree with I may not agree with what you choose to do, but I agree with you being able to choose to fucking do it, okay? And that's what this boils down to for me. I may not like that I don't get to see him fight the best fighters in the world in an MMA space. I may not really be a huge fan of boxing, but this is what he wanted to do, and he proved me wrong. He proved a lot of other people wrong, and congratulations to him, and that's all I got to say about this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, dude. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.